What if a police chase scattered an elderly man's treasured memories? What if they refused to take the blame? In Rhode Island, 82-year-old Stanley Brooks lost a lifelong bond with his son, but his community pieced his past back together. Stay tuned for a story of lost stamps, betrayal, and a collection of love. In the quaint suburb of Ocean Breeze, Rhode Island, the salty air mingled with the scent of pine. The sound of waves crashed in the distance. Here, Stanley Brooks had lived for over 6 decades. He was an 82-year-old widower with a reflective heart. Stanley had bought his $240,000 seaside cottage with his late wife in 1962. It was a home filled with echoes of shared passions. On the crisp morning of October 5, 2028, Stanley sat at his dining table. He carefully opened a worn leather album. Inside were rows of postage stamps, each one a memory. The stamps were a collection he had built with his son Matthew, who had passed away at 30 in a car accident. "Look at this one, Dad," Matthew would say, holding up a rare stamp. Stanley smiled at the memory. His voice was soft. "We traveled the world through these, son." The sound of seagulls called outside. Ocean Breeze was a peaceful neighborhood, but that morning, chaos erupted. A police chase tore through the streets. They were pursuing a thief who had stolen from a local museum. Sirens wailed loudly. Tires screeched on the pavement. Stanley looked up, startled. His hands rested on the album. The chase moved toward Stanley's house. The thief, desperate, ran through his front yard. 2 officers chased him on foot. One, Officer 35-year-old Kevin Walsh, entered Stanley's home through an open window, thinking the thief was inside. In his haste, he knocked over a small table near the dining room. The stamp album fell to the floor. Pages tore, and stamps scattered across the room. Stanley rushed to the scene, his heart pounding. "My stamps, Matthew's stamps," he gasped. Tears welled in his eyes. Walsh froze, seeing the scattered stamps and Stanley's distress. He quickly left to pursue the thief. "Sir, I'll be back," he called out. His voice was tense. Stanley dropped to his knees, gathering the loose stamps. Each one held a memory of Matthew, hours spent sorting, trading, laughing. The scattered collection felt like losing his son again. The pain was sharp in his chest. The officers caught the thief a block away. Walsh returned to Stanley's home, seeing him still on the floor, clutching the torn album. "Sir, are you okay?" he asked. His voice was hurried. Stanley's voice trembled. "These were my sons. We built this together," he sobbed. His hands shook as he held a crumpled stamp. The room felt empty without the album's order. Walsh radioed for backup. The static crackled as he spoke. "We've got a civilian upset. Situation under control," he said. His tone was dismissive. Neighbors rushed into Stanley's home. They gasped at the sight of the scattered stamps. Some knelt beside him. His sobs grew softer. The chaos on the floor mirrored the chaos in his heart. Stanley couldn't bear to look at the album for days. The torn pages and missing stamps were a painful reminder of his loss. He thought of Matthew, his excitement over each new stamp, their shared dream of completing the collection. "We'll finish it one day, Dad," Matthew had promised. Now the dream was in pieces. Tears fell as Stanley sat in silence. The ocean breeze whispered through the window. The Homeowners Association took action. The HOA president, 50-year-old Nancy Rivera, had known Stanley for years. Nancy's father had been a stamp collector, too. A neighbor's security camera had captured the incident. The footage showed Walsh entering the house and the album falling. It showed the stamps scattering across the floor, but Officer Walsh denied responsibility. The album was already damaged, he claimed. His voice was cold. "We didn't cause his distress." Nancy's heart broke for Stanley. She held the camera footage tightly. "This is heartbreaking," she said to the HOA board. Her voice was firm. "Stanley deserves his collection back." The board agreed to fight for him. They hired a lawyer to sue the police department. The rustle of legal documents filled their meeting room. Stanley's loss became their cause. The community would not let him grieve alone. The trial took place in a local courthouse. Residents packed the gallery. Their footsteps echoed on the wooden floor. Stanley sat in the front row. His hands trembled as he held a photo of him and Matthew sorting stamps. His eyes were red from crying. The lawyer played the camera footage. The video filled the screen. It showed Walsh's reckless entry and the album falling. It showed the stamps scattering. Gasps filled the courtroom. The evidence was clear. Officer Walsh took the stand. He shifted uncomfortably. "I didn't see the album," he lied. His voice wavered. The judge's gaze was sharp. "The footage contradicts your statement," she said. Her tone was stern. The lawyer pressed further. "You saw Mr. Brooks in distress. Why didn't you take responsibility?" he asked. Walsh hesitated. I was focused on the suspect," he said. The courtroom murmured in disbelief. Stanley spoke next. His voice trembled as he stood. "These stamps were my Matthew, our time together," he said. Tears streamed down his face. "We'd sort them for hours. He loved it." He held up the photo, Matthew smiling with a stamp in hand. "When they scattered, I lost him again." The courtroom fell silent. Jurors wiped their eyes. Nancy squeezed Stanley's hand. The judge delivered her verdict. Her gavel slammed down with a resounding thud. "Officer Walsh, you are guilty of reckless destruction," she declared. Her voice boomed. "You caused harm and lied about it." The department was ordered to pay Stanley $5,500 in damages. Walsh faced a unique penalty. He was required to join a local stamp collecting club and find replacement stamps himself. The courtroom erupted in applause. Stanley's neighbors cheered for him. Walsh spent weeks in the stamp collecting club, learning the hobby's intricacies. He searched auctions and markets, his hands clumsy with the delicate stamps. The experience made him reflect on Stanley's pain. He found several rare stamps, including one Matthew had loved. On a quiet morning, he arrived at Stanley's home. He carried a small box of stamps. "Mr. Brooks, I'm so sorry," he said. His voice was soft. He handed Stanley the stamps, his hands steady. The community had more in store for Stanley. Nancy and the neighbors gathered at his home. They brought a new leather album, its cover embossed with Stanley and Matthew's collection. "We made this for you," Nancy said. Her voice was warm. They helped Stanley place the recovered stamps and Walsh's replacements into the new album. Stanley's eyes lit up. "Matthew, we're collecting again," he whispered. His voice was tender. Stanley sat at his dining table each day. He flipped through the new album, the stamps a bridge to Matthew's memory. He thought of their laughter, their shared passion, their dreams. "We're still together, son," he said softly. His voice was calm. The community had given him more than stamps. They had given him healing. Ocean Breeze became a symbol of justice and love. Stanley smiled at the album. The collection of his son lived on. And so, a scattered stamp collection became a battle for justice in Ocean Breeze, Rhode Island. Stanley Brooks found peace through his community's love. How would you rebuild a shared passion? What do you think? Should communities fight for healing? Share your thoughts. Join us next time for another tale of justice. Until then, keep standing up for what's right. Thank you for listening.